Hey guys, Andy here. So I didn't think I was going to be buying the Pixel 6. I'm fairly sure people were asking me in comments on earlier videos, are you getting the Pixel 6? I said, probably not, because there was a lot of talk about they were going to return to the top end. They were having their own new chip and they were going to sort of properly go to war, so to speak, with Samsung, Apple and the other big manufacturers and try and produce a flagship device. So I was kind of preparing myself for the next Pixel being like £1,000. I just thought, I'm happy with the Pixel 5. I've no need to spend £1,000. I've been made redundant. I can't afford £1,000. And then they had the event and they said, well, there's going to be two. And one of them's going to be $599. And we're going to give you free Bose headphones. And I thought, oh, actually. And then 10% off if you happen to be a Google One subscriber. Not 10% off, but 10% voucher to use in the store. And I thought, actually, that's a pretty good price. And then when they went through the specs of it and the Pixel 6 was still going to be a pretty top-end device, I thought, sounds like a bit of a bargain. So I've been using my Sorta Seafoam Pixel 6 for, almost 10 days now. I think I got it, maybe it's 9 days. And people are being sort of quite keen and eager to know my opinion on it. So it's review time, and I can tell you, it really is a good phone. But I'm a little concerned. Okay, funny, cliffhanger and all that. There is a but. It is a great phone, but there is a but. But let's go into the actual review and I'll talk you through my thoughts on it. So here we go. As I said, this is the Sorta Seafoam. I think I have a bit of a thing for the kind of the greenish looking devices. My 5 was the greenish, whatever that one was called. It is available also in kind of coral and stormy black. They all look pretty cool. I actually really like the design. The notable thing being the camera bar, or as MKBHD calls it, the visor. I don't mind a phone looking a bit different. I think it's quite good that a phone looks a bit different. If they're all looking the same, they're pretty, it's just a bit dull and boring, isn't it? So this is 8.9 millimeters thick. I think, actually, I didn't realize, I hadn't thought about it. I assume that's that bit rather than the bar. I think the bar's going to be more than that. And I would point out, I like that it goes the whole way along the back because then it rests stably on a table. It actually really annoys me when there's a big camera bump, but it's only in one corner, because then when you use it on a desk, it's rocking all over the place. It is quite a big device. It's 207 grams. The fingerprint sensor is under the screen rather than on the back. And honestly, I'm not really sure why they do that. What's the appeal? What was the problem with it being on the back? Did it eat into space in the back and therefore putting the screen is bad? I don't know, because my experience hasn't been good. Having said that, this morning I changed it. So I turned Smart Lock. So I had been using Smart Lock. I just got fed up. It was failing so often. Literally, I've never had to punch my PIN number in as this much ever before with the phone. Well, since the OnePlus, whatever that was, 6 or something. But this morning I turned up screen sensitivity and then I turned off animations because someone mentioned that sometimes helps. And I don't think it's failed me since. So let's try. And there we go. And we'll see. I'll be using it through the review. We'll see if it fails at any point. That was almost going to be a deal breaker. And I'm not alone. There are other people. Lots of people saying, no, it's working great. It's working fine. But there are quite a few people saying, oh, I'm really having problems with it. Like 20%, 30%. Success rate. And that's a big thing, because every time you use your phone, you've got to unlock it, right? So if you're having annoyances with the fingerprint reader, literally some people are saying, no, I'm sending mine back. The fingerprint sensor is just too bad. So that's just one thing to bear in mind. Like I say, I seem to have kind of fixed it, I think, for me. But it is a big device, and it does make single-handed operation quite difficult. So quite often I find myself shifting the hand up into the device so that I can get to stuff, and that's kind of fine. Maybe not so handy if you're out and about, and you've not got as good a grip on it as you might perhaps if it's the usual standard phone grip. The hardware itself, as I mentioned I think already, is the Google Tensor chip, their first one. It's a 5nm custom built chipset with its own TPU, Tensor Processing Unit for AI. It's also got its own security core, its own private compute core, it's got an image processing core, all sorts of stuff going in there. The actual CPU is an octa-core. It's got 2 cores for sort of the high power. It's got, I think it's 6 sort of lower powered cores. It's got a Mali G78 MP20 GPU, which a lot of people are saying where a lot of the power is coming from. This particular one is 128 gig of storage with 8 gig of RAM, but you can get 256 gig of storage. It's got the UFS 3.1 file system, which should be quicker, and it Geekbenches. For me, it was averaging around 2,680, which isn't amazing. There's other older devices that score better. But then some people said, yeah, but that measures the CPU and it's the GPU that's the power. Try Antutu. So I tried Antutu and it only scored 611,014, so 611,000. And again, I've got older, cheaper devices that score higher than that. I think the Pocophone F3 scored higher than that. I mean, that's a little bit of a sort of a freak in some ways. Its performance is amazing. But I mean, they're both good scores. They're not anything to be worried by. And actually, the most important thing is how smooth the device is in use. And I found it to be very smooth. Ooh. I think that's probably the key thing. So power-wise, I think it's fine. It also has stereo speakers. So let's try those.
And I guess we need to start, Greg, with Mike White. You know, he played obviously a little bit a couple weeks ago after Zach Wilson.
So it scored 89.9 decibels in my test across different audio files, which is good. It's up in the top quarter of the devices I've tested. And I've tested like about 80 or so different devices, if not more. But I think that for me, it's the fact that it's just got there's a little bit of bass in there. It's a slightly more rounded sound than you normally get from a phone, which I think just makes it really quite nice. It does have quite a strong haptic motor, although I have seen comments, I haven't really noticed it, but people have said the haptic motor's up in the top of the phone. And actually, if you turn the phone around in your hand, you feel it a lot more. But I have my belt on a belt pouch type thing, and I can really feel it when there's notifications coming in. So I'll just say it's a strong haptic motor. The screen itself is a 6.4 inch 1080 by 2400 20 by 9 ratio AMOLED 90 Hz HDR10 Plus screen. And generally I think it's really very nice. It scored 743 lumens in my test, which again is pretty good. Although I did use the device out in the sunlight when I've been cycling and stuff, and we have actually had some sunlight. And I've never had a problem seeing, but it's not been super bright. I can imagine there's many phone out there that you would say, yeah, this screen looks a lot better in the daylight. But it is a nice screen though. It has on the front Gorilla Glass Victus, and on the back Gorilla Glass 6. It does give for quite a sort of slippy feeling device. So much against the norm for me, I have got myself a case and I did a video on that. You might want to go and see that. It's quite a thin video, so it doesn't particularly make it feel too much bulky, but it gives a bit of grip because it is quite a slippy device. We're going to move on then to the cameras. So we've got a 50 megapixel main lens, f1.9, 26mm wide angle, with phase detection autofocus, laser autofocus, optical image stabilization. The ultra wide is 12 megapixel f2.2, and then the selfie camera is 8 megapixel f2.0, 24mm wide angle. The big news, I think, for the Pixel 6, or one of the big bits of news for the Pixel 6 is the camera system. So a lot of people commented on the Pixel 5, it was kind of a 3-year-old camera system, and a lot of the upgrades were just through software. But the Pixel 6 was going to be all new hardware, new lenses, new sensors, all that kind of thing. I thought, okay, I want to see what I can do. And one of the big things is the sensor is 150%, well, it lets in 150% more light than the Pixel 5, but it's even bigger than like the iPhone 13 Pro. So big sensor means it's going to do better in low light. And that's where it does shine. So I did a video comparing it to the Pixel 5, and all the sort of daylight, regular, easy photos, they all look much the same, which to be honest, even cheap phones can do quite good photos in nice bright sunlight. But when you get down into the low light, the Pixel 6 just really kind of stepped it up and said, I got it here. For example, the 5 would have to switch into night mode when I was in a street. It was the middle of the night when I was like, it was pitch black, but with street lighting and all the usual sort of London lighting, and the Pixel 5 had to use night mode. The Pixel 6 just snapped away happily without even night mode. Just take the photos. And then when I looked at the video, again, much the same. So in good conditions, nice bright daylight. Both videos looked pretty much the same. Although to be fair, the 6 did look better than the 5. But then when you get to the darkness, to the night, wow, the difference was crazy, to the point I was questioning my Pixel 5. I even went back and looked at the settings the next day, checking I didn't have anything weird selected that made it look that bad, did I? I couldn't see anything. But in low light, it really is very good. There's a couple of software additions which will come to kind of all of Android, I suppose. I need to find a good, and one of them is motion blur, which I took photos. The way I was trying to test this was I was cycling along and taking a selfie of myself. And it was okay, it did a bit of a blur movement, but it wasn't, I think it's a little bit of a gimmick. But then when you look at the Magic Eraser, I think it is pretty magical. So let's see if we can find a good photo. So I think this is one. So here's a photo of me at the hub in Redbourne. Now we've got to bear in mind as well, because some people were slagging us off because they were trying to remove like the main subject from the middle of the photo and it was leaving a bit of a smeary mess. That's not what it's about. It's about just removing little elements from a photo. So we're going to go into Edit and we're going to go to, not crop, Tools. There we go. Magic Eraser. It's going to find suggestions, and it's basically found those two people. I think this chap, it might think, it's a bit too big. But if you watch, I'm going to hit Erase All. I think that's pretty amazing. You can see there is some blur. It's not, the lead going to nowhere. That one's gone well. You see a bit of a blur there, like that window has not worked well. But we can probably, again, I didn't draw it too well. There we go. But the dog is gone. That's not crazy. And let's have a go at this chappie over here. We're removing all sorts by mistake. You've got to use 2 fingers to. Right, we're going to try. That is not bad. You can tell because he's there. I think that's pretty amazing, if I'm honest. And I think that's the kind of thing that I'd probably use. I know quite a lot might be an over-exaggeration, but it could be very handy for some people, because that kind of stuff would often take a bit of skill and time in Photoshop, and it's just doing it. Let's reset. Boing, there they are. So yeah, Magic Eraser I think is pretty special. So then we're on to Android 12. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Android 12 because it's a whole different thing. You probably should just watch some videos on Android 12, I suppose, if you want to know about it. The big news is Material You, in that it tries to theme the colours to the wallpaper that you're using. It works quite well. I quite like that. What else has it got? Oh, there's the silly thing on the stock launcher. You can't remove the date and time from it. It's stuck in a certain place. I don't know why they did that. I think that's ridiculous. So I'm on Nova Launcher. I tried using that stock, but that just annoyed me too much. I'm going to have to put Nova Launcher on. Voice dictation though is pretty ridiculous now. So let's go into. I'm actually going to go into the notes for this review, because for the first time I was kind of using voice dictation. So if I just let's tap in there and let's turn the speaker on. New line. This is how good voice dictation is. It just works so well. It also has automated punctuation. New line. And I can just move the cursor and then talk again, and it puts text in there. New line. You can do sort of tell it to remove the last word and that kind of thing. Honestly, I can't remember specifically what the commands are, so I don't use that. But at least, you just tap about, keep talking, and there it is. It's amazing. So yeah, I've probably used voice dictation more in the last 48 hours than ever in the last 48 months because it works so well. It's an actual viable option. You just feel a bit weird if you're around other people and you're doing it. But when I'm at home or if I'm in the office by myself, actually hitting that and just saying things, it's just so much quicker because it really works so well. And it's all done offline as well. So you might remember the thing that it can do as well, that any video that's playing, by enabling this down at the bottom, live caption, it can put subtitles. It can put the subtitles to whatever video you're watching, whatever. It will, the phone itself hears what it's saying and it puts the subtitles there for you. And apparently, and I've not tried it, but it will even work with translation. So if I watch a Spanish video, it will give me the subtitles in English. And that's all done on the device. That's what the TPU, the Tensor Processor Unit, will allow. So clever, so clever. Not learn more. There are other things like you can double tap the back of the device. I forget what I've got it set up to do. Oh, Assistant. But you can change that to open apps, open the camera, bring your app switcher, bring the notification, whatever you want. So that's quite handy. But as I said, I don't want to go too much into the software because it's just Android 12. Go and watch a video on Android 12 specifically if you want to know about that. I want to talk more about the phone itself, really. Mind you, I'm getting through things quite quick, actually. Send one to the battery. So it's a LiPo 4614 milliamp hour non-removable. Fast charging at 30 watts, so 50% in 30 minutes. This is the advertised speed. Fast wireless charging at 21 watts, and it has reverse wireless charging, so you can put your headphones or whatever on the back and you can have it charge them up. USB power delivery 3.0. Now, I've seen some sort of video reviewers or some people commenting that 30 watts isn't much, but I'm fairly sure the Pixel 5 was like 18 watts or 20 watts or something. 30 watts is fine, I think. I mean, I get different people have different needs. I mean, I just generally charge overnight, but even then, if you're just charging during the day, you're getting half the battery in 30 minutes. That's plenty. Especially then when you see how well the battery lasts. So I did my usual test. It's an hour-long test, watching a bit of video for like 37 minutes, then just basically reloading a web page for 23 minutes is effectively what it does. And it scored 96.5%, which is the third best score I've ever had. And I've put a 0.5%, you might think that was a 0.5%, because literally went from 97 to 96, I think, on the last minute of the test. So when that happens, if it's in the last few minutes, I'll give it a half. But that's an amazing score. That's a screen on for an hour, and it went down just to the 4%. AccuBattery, if we nip into that, let's see what it's saying today. So this is interesting because this varies. So the minute it's saying 8.5, which is good, screen on time, that is. I have had it saying, most of the time it says up over 11. Someone else commented online that theirs says 12. 12 hours screen on time. That's crazy. Combined use 34 hours. No, sorry, combined use 23 hours if it's just off 34 hours. And again, these are not good scores to what I sometimes see in there. Sometimes it's way higher. Bottom line, to me, the battery's really, very good. When I come home from work, this has been on since, I don't know what time this morning. We're still at 69. I've been out cycling and taking photos and things. So we've been on for 10 hours. It's gone down 31%. I think that's pretty good. I come home from work and it's in the 70% sometimes at sort of 5 o'clock in the evening. That's really good. Really good. Which is odd because I'm sure MKBHD slagged the battery off. I think it's very good. So, I think the screen is good. I think the speakers, they're pretty great. I think the camera is fantastic, especially low light. Really very good. The battery is pretty ridiculous. Android 12 is silky smooth. The styling's a little subjective. A lot of people aren't liking the sort of almost little kiddie-like styling of it. Voice dictation is now a real viable option. It feels a well-made, quality, premium device. But, and this is that but, it's the fingerprint sensor. And strangely, like I say, I possibly fixed it today and I almost put the review off. I almost thought, I want to see if this holds out for a few days. And I thought, I don't want to delay it just on that. So I'm just throwing that but in there. And that was that but. There was a genuine but that I did the whole, the fingerprint sensor is a deal breaker for a lot of people. It almost was for me. I was using smart lock instead. So if it's connected to my watch or my headphones, it was unlocked and I could literally just swipe up without having to worry about trying to lock with the finger. But I turned all that off today because the sensitive screen adjustment seems to be working. It seems to be unlocking. I think, through this review, why is it not showing? There we go. through this review, it has unlocked every single time. I don't think it's failed at any point today since I've made that adjustment. If that's the case, that was my only concern, really. I think that and it's a big device. It is a big device. And when I hold my Pixel 5 and feel how sort of small and light and kind of nimble almost it is, I almost wish they did do that. But they would almost need 4 different devices. High-powered, medium-powered, large, small, and then you've got one of each, if that makes sense. So you've got 4 different devices. And you can't expect them to do that. I guess the only other question is, should you go Pro? Personally, I don't think so. But at the same time, it's all about what gives you value and sort of, quite honestly, how much money you've got. Because £250 for the 120 hertz screen, for the 12 gig of RAM, for the slightly bigger screen, the 4K zoom lens and the slightly larger battery, to me, it's not worth it. But to you, it might be worth it. So all in all, it is a really very good phone. I'm really very pleased with it. I think it will stay and I think it will be my main device. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Please do leave me a comment. I'll read them all. For now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.